Yeah, it is the Lab Love Midday Show. It is the Lab Love Midday Show. We're about to get into our conversation of the day. The conversation today is a simple yet complicated question. What I want to know today is the village still able to help raise the child? You know, that used to be the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Do we still allow the village to help raise the child? And what brought this question about for me today is I was watching a video. This dude in the barbershop. Appreciate you, Reggie, for sending me this video. And he caught these two little boys stealing. I think they were stealing some of the snacks in the barbershop, whatever, but he caught them stealing. So he took his belt off. And these little boys, maybe 10, 11, maybe at the most. So they wasn't little kids. Took his belt off and proceeded to put in that work. Hello. Okay, there we go. Sorry, people online. I didn't turn on the microphone on Spreaker online. People can hear me. So let me start over. People online, you've seen this already. The question is, can a village, or is the village still allowed to help raise your child? Is the village still allowed to help raise a child? And again, and I was talking about a video that there was a barbershop. Guy found two kids stealing in the barbershop, roughly 11 years old. And he took off his belt and he put in that work. And after he put in that work, he said, now go tell your mama to come down here to the shop. Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Is that acceptable? And I ask this question because I think this is when we start to get into the hypocrisy of the black community. This is when we start to get into the hypocrisy of the statement of policing our own. I think this is when we start to get into the hypocrisy of when we say we talk about the police enforcement and the police doing too much. So at what point in time is anybody supposed to say anything to your child? So, because if your child is out stealing and he or she get caught, you don't want nobody to call the police on them because you're scared of what the police will do to them. But they out stealing. So clearly the fear, whatever fear you think you putting in them at the house, is not working. So what do you propose happens to these kids? Am I advocating for somebody else to whoop your kids? No, I'm not. But what I am saying is, who's supposed to check your kids and how they supposed to get checked? We all, us, our age, we love to talk about how we think or feel these kids are out of pocket now. But what we don't want is we don't want them, and we feel like our generation isn't as bad. That's how we feel. So we feel like our generation isn't as bad. Why are we not allowed today to implement some of the punishments and the levers that we endured? Why is that not the case? Because if these kids are out of pocket, is one of the reasons why they're out of pocket is because they don't have to deal with or don't get disciplined the way we did. Looking at the chat room, Shakila says, heck no. Do that mean heck no, don't do mine? Shakila says, but they can help raise mine. Rochelle said, yep, crime and punishment. Shakila says, as a teacher, I let them know up front I'm not their friend. I get all of that. But what do you do when you got a kid who just don't care? Because he or she is not getting proper discipline at the house. Now, let me say this. I'm going to say something, and I get that sword cuts both ways. I get that sword cuts both ways, but I have a response for the other side of the cut of the sword from what I'm getting ready to say. I hear people push back against getting spankings or whooping kids. I see it happen more frequently now. But the reality is whoopings kept a whole race of people in check for 400 years. If we're going to keep it 100. It made people stay on a plantation that didn't have gates for hundreds of years. It allowed a white man to sleep in his house peacefully every night with hundreds of people that he whooped and abused out just feet away from him. Whippings did that. Now, I'm not advocating that you beat your child or abuse. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is corporal punishment seemingly works. Now, I know, like I said, that's a double-edged sword, because then somebody might come back and say, well, Lab, what about the mental anguish that caused? Then I would propose this, that the spankings or whippings caused that, or the inability to build infrastructure and other things caused the traumatic experiences that we've had since then. So that's another conversation for another day. What we're talking about is the village being able to check your child is what we're talking about. Shakila says, parents these days think they have to be their kid's friend. That's how it all starts. Okay. Is it that? Or is it, again, that you don't want nobody else to say nothing to your child? There, Alexander said, I would be mad as hell, but I understand. When I got caught stealing heels as a kid, my mom whooped my behind in front of the security at the damn department store. 100% facts. Rose says, right, I get it. My mom said, I love you. That cop don't. I'm just saying. So I know Shaquila's a teacher. She's in the chat room. Shaquila's a teacher. I have several friends who are teachers. And as I listen to the horror stories from these teachers and the stuff that they have to endure from these kids, and the fact when they reach out to the parents and get no help from a large portion of the parents when it comes to disciplining these kids. And the fact that parents show up to the school and have an attitude with them, even though their kid is up here acting a donkey. That is what these teachers are dealing with. So we gave the teachers the tool, i.e. being able to whoop some behind. Will that help them? Will that help? And by not allowing teachers to have the tool of ultimate punishment in their tool belts, are we handicapping them? Because we've all seen videos of kids who are super disrespectful, and the first thing they say is, if you touch me, you're going to lose your job. That's the first thing they say. Because they know one of these teachers can't break their back. They out in public. They know that they mama gonna act a fool if you say something to them. So we're not even talking about getting physical with some of these kids. A lot of these kids, you can't even say nothing to them without their parents going left. Don't talk to my child. It's my child. If you got a problem with something my child doing, do you call me? Woman, I don't know you. What you mean call you? Dude, I don't know you. What you mean call you? Your child, I caught your child stealing in my business. So if I tell your child, get out my store, tell your mama I said come, well, what is that doing? Or would you rather me call the police and put your 11-year-old son in the system? Which one you want? Because that's the only other options. In my store, I either got to check your son on the spot or I got to call the police. Which one you want? Do you want your child dealing with me? Or do you want your child dealing with the police? I'm asking a question. I don't know. Again, Rochelle is a teacher. Shakila says parents these days think they have to be the kids' friends. Let me see. Shakila says, yes, I want to beat them with my crutches. Lord have mercy. No, these kids these days, these kids are not scared of anything. Exactly. Why are the kids not scared? You know why they're not scared? Is because they fear no ramifications from anyone outside of their household. Kids must have a healthy fear of authority. A healthy fear of authority is the difference between a society and us out here running amok. And I don't think these kids have a healthy fear of that at all, because they feel like the only person who gets to check them is their parents. The police shouldn't check them. The teacher can't check them. The principal can't check them. That is it. Renee B says, as a mom, I don't want or need my son in the system. See what I'm saying? Renee B, but you saying call you, but again, if your child is a stranger and he or she is in my store, I don't have your number. And if you have established the hierarchy that the only discipline structure in your kid's life is you, he or she dang sure not giving me your number to call you. So what else am I supposed to do? See what I'm saying? Rochelle says, no, I'm not a teacher. That is Shakila, but put some respect on her name. Rochelle, what I want you to do is go take a nap. That's what I want you to do. So that's what we're talking about today. Is the village allowed to help you raise your child? Is the village allowed to step in and help you? That's all I'm saying. And I personally don't believe the village is allowed to. And that is one of the contributing factors to our kids run amok nowadays, because I can't help you. I can't check your child when you're not around. And because your child feels like you're the only person that can check him or her, they don't respect nobody else. They're not worried about nobody else. So y'all let me know what you think. I think, again, that's Lab's thought, but I'm open to hearing other perspectives, other thoughts on the situation. This is the Lab Love Midday Show. We're talking about the village. The village. So what do y'all think? Online. There, Alexander says, I'm right. This is my thing. Again, people who listen, and I know we live in an age where people listen and hear what they want to hear. So some people are going to hear this and watch this and say, Lab is advocating for beating people's kids. That's not what I'm advocating for. But if you have a child who thinks that the only recourse for his or her actions is his parents, and they can say to hell with anybody else, that's a problem. That's a problem when the only person your child fears is you. And again, when these kids are dealing with the police and all this stuff right here, the police, unfortunately, they don't care that you got a household that sits your kid down and talk to them and puts them in timeout, because the police not putting your kids in timeout. Timeout is jail. So I think we at a point now where you got to ask, it's only three options. Either you got to be with your child all the time and you discipline them, you allow the village to help you discipline them, or the police gonna discipline them. And do you really want your child to start off in the system at 11 and 12 years old? Or would you rather a store owner take off his or her belt and spank your child right there in the store? And I know people don't like the thought of that. These new parents, they don't like the thought of that. But again, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that these kids nowadays are run amok, but you don't want them to be disciplined the way we were. If we would not run amok, why weren't we run amok? We all echo the same sentiment. It's because my mama didn't play or my daddy didn't play. If I got in trouble, Miss Ann up the street could whoop my behind, and then she'll bring me home to the house, and then my mama was going to whoop me behind. I never forget. One day I got in trouble, and I was talking about the teacher, and I was all mad and upset, and I was like, that ain't what I did. You know what my mama said? That woman ain't got no reason to lie on you. If she said you did it, then you probably did it. That's what my mama said to me. So that woman got no reason to lie on you. Why would that woman lie on you? But that ain't the mentality nowadays. Do you really think these teachers with 30 students, 6 periods a day, got time to carve out of her life or his life to single out your child? Come on. Do you really think these teachers got time for that? They ain't got time to be dealing with your bad kid. What they want is your kid to shut his or her mouth so they can move on. That's what they want. They want your kid to stop acting a donkey in their class. What they want is when they say do X, Y, Z, they want your child to do it. That's all these teachers looking for. They don't get paid enough to deal with the madness that some of these kids bring to the school. And for you to not have their back on it, it just adds to it. So again, are we handicapping these teachers, but not giving them the tools that they need to truly deal with these kids? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to throw it out the school. That ain't what you want. You don't want them throw it out to school. You don't want nobody saying that to them. I called you 30 times. And every time I called you, you keep talking about you got to call me for every little thing. Yeah, I do. Because clearly whatever you saying or doing with your child at the house, they don't care about that. I got friends who teachers who say they'll call the parents constantly, and the parents still never come to the school. Still never come to the school. And I'm using teachers as an example because outside of parents, that's who, if your kid is of school age, that's who deals with your kids most of the time, the teachers. So they have to deal with your country, your kids a whole bunch of time. Daryl says this country went soft for a long time. Man, it went so soft. All I'm saying is, hey man, we have to make a decision. Either you want the police checking your kids, or you want the village checking your kids. The village checking your kids, 9 times out of 10, your child get to come home. They might come home with a lumped up behind, but they get to come home. They're not in the system. Their life hadn't been destroyed. Their life hadn't been destroyed. But if you won't allow us to check them, and then they get in the system, and now you want to have meetings about the pipeline to the jails and the prisons, and they want to get you, they want to get you in the system. Well, we try not to get them in the system. When I whooped your son behind for stealing out my barbershop, you came up and you called the police on me. Now, 5 years from now, your son run amok because when somebody did try to check him, you show him that when your child is checked, you gonna come play super mom. You or super dad. Now you want to fight and pull the pistol out on me, and your child is in the wrong. All I'm saying is, at some point in time, we gotta make a decision. Gotta make a decision. It's either the police or the streets. And when I say the streets, I ain't talking about some dude pull a pistol out on you, son. I'm talking about a dude like this dude at the barbershop, step in and just spank your child and do what he said. And I tell your mom to come holler at me. We got to make a decision. Either you want them to get a spanking and learn that there's consequences for their actions, or you want the police to deal with it. Again, we see how that's turning out. Let me know what you